Inside Racing is brought to you by Dunlop.
Porsche, a car that no one needs, but everyone wants. Remaining true to the basic concept for decades, Ferry Porsche and his successors made a lasting mark on the international motorsport scene. We didn't have any huge motor racing department. It was a handful of people who made and drove these cars. And against the big guns in the World Championships for sports cars and prototypes, we tried to at least come in the first 5. In the 50s, still an underdog, it was they who quickly took Porsche right to the very top. Now, getting on a bit, these former heroes represent the beginnings of a success story that's still going on today, 60 years on. A story written in all sorts of race series at almost every race circuit of the world. Memories of the legendary 24 Hours of Le Mans. I drove in our first Le Mans race in 1953. Everything was, of course, very simple and Spartan, certainly no masseur. We got changed in the factory team's van, repair vehicle. And it must also be said back then we always drove only as pairs, 2 drivers alternating in one car. Today they drive in 3s or even 4s. That means it's naturally much less strenuous if you're splitting 4 drivers across 24 hours. Than it is with 2.
Es ist weniger anstrengend natürlich, wenn ich 4 Fahrer aufteile auf 24 Stunden als bei 2.
I miss those days. I went to Le Mans 30 times. If I ever go there to watch it now and see what a huge operation it's become, it could almost make you cry. If you think what a simple operation we went to Le Mans with back in our day, with 3 cars and maybe 15 mechanics in total, plus 2 or 3 engineers, and that was it. But it was a lovely time, a happy time, and our success reflected that too.
Es war eine schöne Zeit und es war eine glückliche Zeit und die Erfolge sprachen ja auch dafür.
Le Mans, Mille Miglia, Carrera Panamerica, Targa Florio, Spider & Co. taught the competition to be afraid, not only in 1.5 and 2-litre engine classes. In the alien Formula One, Porsche celebrated 1-2 victories at the Monte Carlo Rally Cult Triumphs. For the sort of street circuits that we used to race on then, the cars themselves were already good, as they were small and nimble, and that always helped us. Almost every year we also had a new enhancement or a new model, if you trace the chronology through to the 917, which was finally a machine with which we could at last challenge for the world crown.
Gerät hatten, mit dem wir wirklich die Weltmeisterschaft fahren konnte.
The machine, the Porsche 917, and he put it through its paces. David Piper rung up in 1969 and asked to test a new car in the 1,000-kilometer race at the Nürburgring. Unaware back then of what to expect, Piper recalls a devilish drive.
I got into the car and I was lying almost on my back, you know. I'd never driven anything quite like it before, and I made the fatal mistake of not putting any earplugs in my ears because when you started up, the noise was incredible because it was a 4.5 litre, which really sings, you know. I mean, it was horrible. Very, very tricky to drive. And I managed to do a lap, and I think they were glad to see me when I got back. And I said to Frank Gardner, this is a nightmare car to drive. So anyway, we got back and they said, all right, we've qualified the car, now you can go and have breakfast. So we went into the sport hotel and all the factory drivers were there laughing at us, you know. And I said, what's the problem? They said, well, no one wants to drive this car.
That was a mistake, as this was the start of an era. With the 917 and its successors, Porsche conquered new ground. Numerous victories in the highest CC class on both sides of the Atlantic, thanks to 12-cylinder mid-engine drive and lightweight construction. And above all, because Ferry Porsche and then head of racing Ferdinand Piëch would reach for the stars. In 1970, Hans Hermann and Richard Atwood triumph in the Porsche 917K. At last, the first overall victory at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. To this day, a sporting and engineering milestone. On the straights in 1970, we were doing 384 kilometers an hour. Formula One cars today don't even do that, incidentally. Lots of people don't realize how fast we actually went back then.
Wissen viele gar nicht, wie schnell wir damals gefahren sind.
917, Steve McQueen, Porsche. In the 70s, they became the epitome of Le Mans. 16 wins is the Porsche record to date in the race, the last in 1998 with Ortelli, Aiello and McNish. They then left the track to Audi, now Porsche's brother in Ingolstadt, withdrawing from First Division Motorsport.
Man darf ja nicht vergessen, dass
You mustn't forget that not everyone supported the idea of Audi driving against Porsche. The fact that this situation has now worked out a bit differently is perhaps not a bad thing. But the dyed-in-the-wool Porsche fans have certainly missed top-class racing.
aber für die eingefleischte Porscheaner hat schon der Spitzensport schon.
Were that indeed to come back in 2014, that would be fantastic.
Man soll jetzt ab 14, das wäre natürlich schon toll.
The record winner set to compete with the latterly dominant Audi and Peugeot? In 2014, Porsche is planning to enter a Le Mans prototype in the classic 24-hour race. Preparations are thus underway to make history once again.
Inside Racing was brought to you by Dunlop.